According to the late Madiba, Nelson Mandela, quote, only armchair politicians are immune from committing mistakes. Errors are inherent in political action, end quote. Now, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Delta State appears to be in a quagmire as we speak regarding its flag bearer for the 2023 governorship election. The Federal High Court in Abuja, presided over by Justice Taiwo Taiwo, has ordered the removal of the newly elected Delta PDP candidate for next year's governorship race. And he is Sheriff Oborevwori. I hope I got that right. Now, the trouble is over a certificate forgery. Oborevwori, it is alleged, had submitted credentials, including age declarations, affidavit, and academic certificates bearing different unreconciled names at different times. You get the impression that politicians are the easiest of all human beings to corrupt, Yinka.
Well, we laugh over this, but it's a very, very serious matter. And as people always say, if you want to hear the true story of your birth, dabble into politics. But
they say if you want your DNA without paying a kobo, just say you want to be a counselor.
So now, how I followed that story. This guy has almost 4 or 5 different names.
Yeah,
there's no crime in that. In Africa, especially if you are a firstborn, you might have up to 20 names, and out of those 20, you may end up using only 2 or 3. However, there are some things that will be consistent. The schools you attend, your classmates, your friends, and all that. So now, if the party, at the party level, they are not able to detect that, and they went ahead to submit it to INEC, what do you say of our system?
Inka, I give you a counter question.
Yes.
This gentleman we are talking about is the Speaker of the State House.
Yes.
So these questions should have been asked the first time.
Exactly. That is where we are going. And where exactly is the function of the security agencies? Because when things happen like this, there is no one today, even if you want to be a counselor. The SSS or whatever name it goes, the security agencies will go through your files, whether you have a person of concern or whatever, and all that. Go to your school, find out 1 or 2 things about you before you are given the plain bill. He was elected, and he is a speaker. I want to believe that he is not a first-timer in the House of Assembly. So he can't be a speaker. So how did it come there? I mean, you see, the moment every day when you hear things like this, you begin to ask yourself, are we really serious in this country? And you begin to see why we are going in the direction where we are going. You want to go to Ibadan, but you are facing Badagry. So how do you get there?
I'm tempted to believe that anything is possible in politics. Emeka, for instance...
The Nigerian politics especially.
Nigerian politics. Napoleon Bonaparte said, in politics, never retreat, never retract, never admit a mistake.
Oh. Yeah, well, but how morally upright will such a society be?
But when you say politicians here are Machiavellian, what does it tell you?
Yeah, but if it is that trait that the end justifies the means that has put our country, Nigeria, where it is.
Yeah.
So there should be a large dose of introspection about the effects of these things, of things like this, on the larger society. And then, what is INEC really doing about all these things? Because it's like the courts have actually become more detailed than INEC in scrutinizing things like this is that the courts have become, they have sort of taken over some roles of INEC. So it's as if INEC will just hold press conferences and make very grandiose claims.
I wonder if it is proper to carpet or cap the INEC at a time like this, because politicians mess up the situation, the table, and then INEC takes the rap.
Now, why is INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, why is it independent? INEC is supposed to ensure that it can read, it's just like a code, it can read the situation. And this is not the first time such a thing has come up. Remember, in Bayelsa State, the deputy governor-elect, David Leon, was this not the same thing that kicked both of them out, that avoided their ticket, just 24 hours to their swearing?
Yeah.
You say we pretend to be forgetful in this country, but we are not. I read history, so I'm interested in, sometimes I go back to things that happened in the past to dig them out, because, you see, to let people know that we have not forgotten. So we must draw parallels with what things have happened in the past, so that we can be properly guided for the present and into the future. Now, this situation unfolding, we know that the unstated part is the apparent quote-unquote rebellion of a godson against his godfather, which is the governor versus the former governor, James Ibori. That's the governor, Okowa and Ibori. So it's like a test of strength, which is the unstated aspect of it. The governor supports the speaker. His godfather supports David Edevie. So, and now the court has said, David, in line with the electoral, that David Edevie should take up the ticket.
Yeah.
But, you see, what does the law say about identity? How can you present different certificates, bearing different names?
Yeah.
Now, the court has, because the speaker's camp has said this is the court of first instance, that, his supporters should not worry and all of that. But the point is this: it gets more controversial and more embarrassing as it goes higher. Because if you remember, in the case of Bayelsa, the court of first instance, the tribunal, sacked them. The appeal court turned it down.
Yeah.
Then the Supreme Court now delivered the killer punch. Less than 24 hours to his inauguration. So,
in fact, it was on the rehearsal ground.
In Delta State now, APC is just waiting in the wings and watching. And the governorship candidate of APC in Delta State, Deputy Speaker of the Deputy Senate President, Oviomo Agege, he's watching keenly. He's not a neophyte in politics. So PDP in Delta State and PDP National had better put their acts together so that they don't, if they really intend to win this 2023 election. Because any mess, any misstep, look, the APC will just coast on to victory so easily.
All right.
I think in this case,
but in politics, nothing happens by accident. Yeah. But if it so does, just know it was planned to happen that way. Are you saying nobody in the PDP in Delta knows
before today? Well, as the Yoruba would say, it is when problem comes that a song that I would normally sing and you enjoy becomes something offensive to you.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, I don't think we should completely blame INEC. The business of INEC is not to, I want to believe, not to check, not to do background check and certificate and all that.
That's not its job.
That is not his job. His job is, okay, Party A has submitted this person's name, this is his credentials, is okay, put it there, is the candidate. When the problem now comes, Should we blame INEC for accepting it? No, it will fall on the security agencies and other agencies that
Maybe
are
the Electoral
involved.
Offences Commission bill should be passed.
You know, the problem there is that people drop the ball and want to blame others for dropping the ball.
Yeah, sorry.
If-
Sorry, there's
Yes.
an Emmanuel. Emmanuel is reaching us from Lagos. Good evening, Emmanuel. Welcome. Emmanuel, are you there?
Hello,
Speak up. Yeah, are you there, Emmanuel? Let's go.
this is Mr. Citizen John. How are you?
I greet you, sir.
Yeah, I greet you too. And good evening, Mr. Emeka and my brother Bolaji. How are you guys doing?
Olayinka Nobody.
Olayinka.
Yeah. Let me start by comment of Mr. Emeka that he's shocked that he's surprised that the Senate President is shocked about the attack on Kuje President. That's a very good comment coming from you. In fact, it's a shame that this thing is happening in Nigeria. You understand? People are not sleeping with even one eye. People can no longer sleep with one eye closed. And it's really very, very sad. The degree of insecurity in Nigeria is alarming. The time, like what one
I'm
caller
sorry.
said that
Just a
one
minute,
professor in,
Emmanuel.
Kenya
Emmanuel.
that said, the time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the next best time is now. If nothing is done about this state of insecurity, I'm afraid the country is drifting towards anarchy.
So thank you, Emmanuel, except that we are in Delta, not to say your submission is not, but we are looking at Delta. So the INEC is doing its job.
But there should be an agency.
Like
There must be
what?
maybe an Electoral Offences Commission. The bill is before the National Assembly. It should be passed so that it will scrutinize. I know, yes, the Constitution talks about, there is this lacuna about presenting certificates, backing them up with your form CF 0001. I know there's still that issue, but the issue should be made clear. The National Assembly should make that issue clear. Since it still intends to amend the Electoral Act, for the sake of the nation, it should clear that area. You see, you can't just claim you have been this or have been this, and then you have different names on different certificates, and which are glaring. The National Assembly itself, in amending the Electoral Act, said that it's only aspirants, fellow aspirants that can challenge the validity of the certificates or qualifications presented by any of them. So now, Adevia has taken up the gauntlet and said, okay, very good. This is my co-aspirant, this is my rival. The papers he presented are questionable.
Yeah,
so he has done that. So National Assembly should also clear and make clear offenses, and punishments for this thing. How is this thing to be dealt with? Because, you see, PDP, very soon campaigns will start. PDP has held on to that state since 1999. If PDP is desirous of still keeping control of that state, I'll restate it. In 2023, PDP must put his act together. It must put his house in order. It must make sure that this simmering feud between Godfather and Godson is settled. Otherwise, you see, politicians are very funny people. Before you know what's happening, their supporters will begin to look elsewhere.
Emeka seems to have forgotten another statement by Napoleon. He said, if your enemy is committing a mistake, don't interrupt him. So whatever is happening in Delta,
the APC will not talk now.
Or other
parties. If I were to be in their shoes also, I won't talk. Let it go on, because it will play to its own, their own advantage. However, as I said earlier, why is it that politicians always have questionable credentials? Look,
Sorry, don't you recall if a retired DIG at the National Assembly
Who said
even
majority
here,
of the people in this assembly are people he has
who
interrogated
were
before.
my customers?
Exactly. So, if Emeka is so optimistic that the National Assembly will do something strong in the Electoral Act, I don't think they will. Because this same National Assembly forgot to include themselves
Did they forget?
as delegates.
Are you sure they forgot?
Well,
Are you
so
sure?
why did they think back and they wanted the president to sign?
Are you sure they forgot?
Gentlemen, we must go. We must go. Let's not the matter there, but let the debate continue. But I have a warning. Politicians, more so in Delta and places like Delta, must remember the Ides of July. July 15 is the D-Day, Abi?
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember the Ides of July.